for some of you here, due to the 11/11 Singles Day shopping, okay, I hope you still did set aside some money for travel next year, okay, since we are starting to see more good news coming in recently. So, anybody here that are actually already checking out the flights to Hong Kong with the travel bubble already established and announced today. So do let us know in the chat box whether any of you are planning to go to Hong Kong, or you rather spend the money on shopping now, because we know the tests are expensive, the flights are more expensive. So let us know what are your thoughts. That will be interesting for us. So we have quite a few regulars joining us today, but still do allow me to formally introduce myself to those who just joined us today. So I'm Ming from Topliners Club, and I'll be your host for today's session. Topliners Club is a licensed bespoke travel agency in Singapore, and we basically customize all the itineraries and arrange the most suitable experience and accommodations for our customers. You can find out more about us at our website, toplinersclub.com. So together with me is the co-host and also my business partner, Julian. He will be handling the technical part of this session. He is also the host for our Southern Africa webinars, and his last session for the series will be held on 23rd of November at 8:30 p.m. So do check out news of it on our Facebook page or our YouTube channel. Okay, both are with the name Topliners Club. Okay, next I would like to introduce a very important person, which is our guest speaker all the way from Zurich, Miss Catharina. Catharina is a veteran travel professional running a Swiss travel company called Swiss Epic Tours, and is our ground handling partner in Switzerland. So welcome, Catharina.
Thank you very much, Ming. Hello, everybody. It's nice to be back, and I look forward to this session about hiking and cycling today.
Thank you. So Catharina has painstakingly prepared all this information for us in the last few months. So do show her some Singapore warmth as a form of appreciation, by asking her a lot of tough questions later. Yeah, and today we are also very honored to have Oliver, who is based in Singapore from the Switzerland Tourism Board. So Oliver has lived in both Singapore and Switzerland for a number of years. So I'm sure he can share a very unique perspective with us. Welcome, Oliver.
Thank you, Ming. Good evening, everybody. I'm happy to be back. I'm glad to see a lot of familiar names, and I also hope you all put on your hiking boots and your bicycle is ready for the next session.
So I'll see you guys tonight for some hiking or cycling. So do let me know if any of you are going. Yeah, so Topliners Web Travel Series are bite-sized travel webinars for various handpicked destinations. They are sharply focused, casual, and candid. So we will always endeavor to keep each session within a maximum of 1 hour, depending on the length of the Q&A. And for those of you who have religiously joined us every session since we started, please accept my heartfelt gratitude to you for your kind support. And for those who have just found out about us, we hope you will enjoy the remaining sessions that we have planned for you. Okay, so today we are actually talking about Switzerland's best scenic hikes and cycling routes that are suitable for all fitness levels. Okay, so we are getting more requests regarding nature walks, e-bike touring, and thus we have compiled some of the best, and we hope to share our knowledge in this area with you. So especially in current times, I would think that bicycle is a especially safe form of transport to get around Switzerland, as long as all logistics are being considered and are well taken care of. So to set the context right today, we'll be talking about leisure hiking or cycling for even beginners, okay? Because the more challenging ones will require more technical planning with us, and it's something that we are unable to cover in today's session. So do let us know if you require help in this area. Okay, and our next and last episode of the series, okay, sadly is coming to an end, and all good things must come to an end. The last session will be held on the 25th of November, 8:30 p.m. And we'll be talking about Switzerland's best sample itineraries that we have designed. They are they are suitable for various interests. Okay, so these itineraries will be a good base for you to build on. according to your interests and requirements thereafter. So basically, we'll be sharing with you how to include certain experiences that we have spoke about in previous sessions, such as the panoramic train rides, the gastronomy experience, the winery visit, nature and outdoor activities, snow activities, or even mountain excursions. So it will be a good way for us to actually summarize all the sessions that we have shared with you over the last few months and help you build on your dream holiday in Switzerland. Okay, so we hope you can join us on this last session 2 weeks later. And please share with your friends and family if they're interested, get them to join us in this big family that we have built over the last few months. And do feel free to type in your questions during the session, as we will be stopping by as we go along to answer your questions. Feel free to write to us as well by email if you have further questions, and we will answer them promptly. So our contact details will be shown at the end of the session. Okay, so I think I have spoken for maybe about 5 minutes or so. Please do allow me to hand over the time to our guest speaker. Catharina, please.
Yes, thank you very much, Ming. I will share my screen with you all for you can see the presentation we have prepared. Here we go. I think it must be visible to all of you right now.
Yes.
Great. So today we will be talking about hiking and cycling in Switzerland, two very pleasant, sportive activities, I could say. But as Ming said, it's good for every fitness level. We have chosen some routes, some examples to show you the variety Switzerland has to offer on this. The first half of the presentation of this session will be about hiking, and afterwards we will be talking about cycling in Switzerland. Now, when you go hiking in Switzerland, what can you expect actually? First of all, of course, the fresh alpine air. I was just talking with Oliver and Ming a little bit before we started this session about the weather today here in Switzerland. Well, you know already that normally in autumn the temperatures are around 10 degrees, maybe 15 degrees more or less. Today I'm based in the Zurich area, and today it's a little bit more fresh. We have now 5 degrees Celsius, but it's still a very good temperature to go out for a hike. So you will definitely experience and breathe this fresh alpine air. And my mother always used to say it's the best air you can breathe. When you go up to the mountains, you go for a nice hike or a nice cycling route, you have definitely this fresh air in your lungs. It's very healthy. Apart from that, of course, beautiful views along the route. We have chosen a couple of itineraries today where you definitely will enjoy beautiful views. And in general, when we talk about hiking and also cycling in Switzerland, there are endless possibilities. I mean, it was actually a hard job to choose only 3 because more will not fit into this session, but you have so many possibilities, plenty of possibilities. And actually, whatever you want to do, if you want to go on a hike or cycling, and during the hike you feel like, okay, I've been walking now 1 hour, I've been walking now 2 hours, I actually would like to go down to the valley again, then you always have the possibility to change your route because there are so many different options. What is very good in Switzerland, and I understood in Singapore works pretty much the same, is that we have very good indications on signboards. So if you go on a hike or if you go on a cycling tour and you follow just the signboards, as you can see here on the image, it shows the distance you still have to cover. It shows a little bit the time that is still left to cover the planned route. You can always follow these signs and indications. They are very, very clear. And most of the times they also show the way to the next train station, to the next bus station, to the next cable car. So even if in the morning you plan to do a 4 or 5 hours hike, which is actually a long hike, you can always during the day decide and say, look, after 2 hours, I feel enough. I don't want to keep on hiking. I rather prefer to take a cable car or a train down to the valley. Then you always have these possibilities because Switzerland in general is very, very well connected. So that's a couple of words introducing the hiking series. Now we have chosen 3 routes.
Just
and we will start,
very quick question here.
Yeah.
I think the audience here is not warmed up yet, so let me get the ball rolling. I noticed in the sign that there is actually different colors. I think in the signboard here is red, and I understand there are some other colors. Maybe Oliver or yourself can share with us what does the different colors actually stand for. So when we are there, when we look at the signboard, we can actually understand.
Yeah, well, I can explain that. In general, the normal hiking path or the signs for hiking are those yellow signs you see on the picture right now. Then on the left-hand side, you see this white, red, white mark. This is an indication for hikes in the mountainous areas, actually. And then there is a third one, which is white, blue, white. So the red line would be replaced with a blue line, and this would be in the alpine region, so way higher up. So these are always marked on the signs, and sometimes those signs, there's not always the signpost like this. So sometimes on a rock or on a tree or on a wall, you just see painted the red, white, red sign, so that you can just follow. You just follow those marks, and then you can't get lost.
Exactly. Yeah, it's actually, as Oliver says, it's a very clear indication. And once again, if you feel like, okay, my hike was enough for the day, then you have so many possibilities to go back to the valley or to change your route on the way. I think I would say we have over 1,000 hiking possibilities, hiking trails, even much more. So you actually could spend a full year hiking in Switzerland and see every day something different.
We have 65,000 marked hiking trails, kilometers, 65,000 kilometers of marked hiking trails. So yeah, you can spend a lot of time there.
Exactly. Not enough for 1 week of holiday. So if you like to do this, you would definitely need to come back. Yeah. Okay. Good. Then I would say we would continue and go a little bit more deep into these three trails we have chosen. So actually today we wanted to show you three different kinds of trails. The first one is a little bit more hardcore. I will not say it's a difficult trail, but it requires a little bit more experience. That is the Via Alpina. Then afterwards, we have a middle fitness level trail chosen for you. And completely at the end, the last trail we will be talking about is a real leisure trail, even suitable for families with children. But we will start with this one, the Via Alpina trail. It's a quite long trail. Actually, you can do this trail in 20 stages. So there are 20 sessions basically along the way which you can hike. I would say let's start with this introduction video for you can have a little bit an idea of the views and what to expect on the way. So let me start this Via Alpina video. this was a short introduction about this Via Alpina hiking trail. I will show you the map. That is the next slide, for you can see where it starts and where it finishes. So this is the map of Switzerland in general. You can see this, basically the borders are marked with green. And this Via Alpina route starts here at the east of Switzerland. Actually, this is in Liechtenstein. It's a very small state next to Switzerland. And the capital there is Vaduz, and that is where this mountain trail starts. And it goes over more than 14, or actually the 14 most beautiful mountain passes. And then you would follow the route, 390 kilometers in total, so it's quite a long route. And you would finish here in the area of Montreux. This is where is located the Lake Geneva. Geneva is a city in the south of Switzerland, over here. I'm going there with my mouse right now. And Montreux is located over here. So 390 kilometers from Vaduz in the east, crossing all Switzerland by these 14 most beautiful mountain passes until you reach Montreux. On the way, as we have seen, you will walk by beautiful lakes, by forest as well. And you will have, of course, these marvelous views from the mountain passes itself. Now it's clear, of course, you say, I think 390 kilometers, it's a little bit a long walk to do all this in one day. Now that's definitely not the idea. That's why this is a planned route, which is divided in 20 different stages. Now, what can you do? If you are a hardcore hiker and you would like to walk all the route, you can definitely do it, but you can cut it up in several days. So there are mountain huts, there are hotels, of course, as well, chalets on the way where you can overnight and have something to eat. And then the next morning you are fresh again and ready for the next stage. So in total 20. This Via Alpina route has something very specific on the way as well, because if you would like to complete all the 20 stages, on the way there are some stamp points. You can get a kind of passport, and there are 38 stamp points where you can get a stamp in the passport. And if you have all these 38 stamps at the end of the route, you will get a certificate that you have participated on this route, that you have completed the full route. So that's possible if you opt to do the full hiking trail, these 390 kilometers. Then you would definitely need to plan, I think, a week or a little bit more even to complete all this. Of course, because there are 20 stages, you can also say, okay, I like to go hiking, and this route feels attractive to me, but I also would like to do something else during my holidays. Then you can just choose one or two of the stages and travel the rest of the route or through the country with other means of transportation, for example, by train or something else. So you could, for example, decide, okay, I don't want to start here in Vaduz. I start my holidays more in the center of Switzerland, and I only would like to complete a small part of the route. That is also possible. So it's totally up to you. You can adjust completely to your personal itinerary, what suits you best. So as we said, this is a little bit more hardcore. You can see the 14 mountain passes, 390 kilometers. It goes by 7 different cantons, 7 different areas in the country we could see. And what is very special along this route, you will find a huge variety of flora and fauna. So a lot of animals, a lot of different plants. So you are really outside in the nature, and it's a beautiful thing to do. Now, in general, hiking in Switzerland, you can, of course, do this all year long. In general, the hiking trails. Of course, if you go a little bit higher up in the mountains, it's more recommendable to do something like this in spring, summertime as well, and in early autumn for having beautiful views and more accessible paths, to say like that. So, as we said, this Via Alpina is a little bit more the hardcore trail, but it's definitely accessible because you can choose if you maybe want only to do one of the stages. If you don't feel like you want to do everything, you can just cut it off and say, okay, I just rather do a part that fits my fitness level. So you can really adjust this path to your personal itinerary. That was from my side, the information about the Via Alpina. I don't know if maybe Oliver would like to add something more regarding this, or how the system
Maybe
works.
just answer one of the questions. Chris asked, what are cantons? I mean, for us Swiss people, it's very clear what cantons are. But outside of Switzerland, this term is not used. These are actually our states, the different states we have. We call them cantons. So it has nothing to do with any relation to China or something, with Cantonese or something. It's our states. To complete entire Via Alpina, how many days we are looking at? That's a question from Alan. Yeah, here it also depends on how motivated you are, how physically fit you are. I mean, this is about, per stage, it's about 20 kilometers. If you hike flat in Singapore, 20 kilometers. If you're fast, maybe it's 3.5 hours. If you're slower, then it's about 5 hours. But in Switzerland, when you do the Via Alpina, it's going up and down. So your speed will definitely be reduced. So you will not, let's put it that way, you will not be able to come to Switzerland for 1 week and complete the whole trip. You might need 2 weeks or even more. You might have to come back and do only 2-3 stages per visit. Because when it comes to hiking in the mountains, it's better to reduce the speed, because when you walk sometimes on rocks, on stones, then you need to have a secure, like hiking, stepping. So otherwise it might be a bit dangerous, and also the high altitude slows you down anyway a little bit because of the lack of oxygen. But then maybe here as well, just because I'm a guy who likes to know where I have to go. So orientation is always quite important for me when I'm hiking, because I don't want to lose my way. We see on this picture right now, we see a big number 1, and maybe Catharina, you can switch to the map again, because on this map we have, you see all those 1-digit numbers. And this is the number of the hike or the route. There are 7 national routes. So Via Alpina is one of them. And then on the signboards, you see then the number 1. So you can just follow this route. So this is makes it actually quite easy, because sometimes those routes they cross each other in a way.
Yeah, exactly.
Then there is another. I think if there are some questions, we answer them right now, because I like it when there are some questions. Amelia asks whether there are campgrounds along the trail. Via Alpina, maybe not necessarily, because we are mainly in the mountains. But on some other routes or more regional routes in the flatter part of Switzerland, there are, every now and then, there are some campgrounds, or there are some hotels, motels, bed and breakfast, and so on, or mountain hut. In the mountains, there are more mountain huts that you can stay overnight. It's quite a simple way of accommodation, made for the hikers. But strategically well placed, so that you can really have your rest days during the hikes.
Exactly. Are there any more questions in the chat at the moment?
I think we can continue. Let's go with an easier one now, huh?
Yeah, exactly.
Let's go more easy going.
Yeah, okay, good. So then we will continue with, we call it the vineyard path. This one, as Oliver was talking about before, about these numbers, we saw these number 1 until 7, and here we see number 36. So this is what Oliver was referring about. When you go, when you have these hiking maps, you can just follow the number of the route. And this one from Martigny until Leuk, that is, let me show you the map again from Switzerland. It's here in the southern part of Switzerland. So this route, as you can see, we are talking about right now, is much shorter than the Via Alpina. And this one is very easy to complete during a week holidays in Switzerland. You don't need the full 7 days to complete this this path. Although you can cut it into 4 stages again if you like, but you can even walk this in, I would say, 1 or 2 days. It's possible to do. Located in the south of Switzerland, and yeah, it's called the Vineyard Path because it goes by these beautiful vineyards we have in the south of Switzerland. I would say this path is recommendable to do mostly in spring or in autumn time. In autumn, because of course it's anyway the harvest time, it's the wine season, so that makes it quite interesting. And apart from that, if you would go in summer, it's still possible. But in summertime, sometimes in the vineyards, it can be a little bit hot and humid. So that's why in spring and in autumn, it makes it more pleasant to complete a route like this. Yes, as you can see, it's a 74 kilometers trail, so very well doable during a week of holidays. 4 stages, and it only requires, or only I would say, it requires a medium fitness level. So this one is much easier to do than the Via Alpina. You don't need a very high fitness level, and again, you can adapt completely and adjust to your own itinerary. So if you say I'm a fast hiker, I walk a little bit faster and I have a lot of condition, I can do this in 2 or 3 days. Or if you say, well, I would rather prefer to take a full week and walk these 74 kilometers and make some more stops on the way to visit villages and stay a little bit longer there, have something nice to eat, that is also possible. So you can completely adjust this kind of hikes to your own itinerary. It's not too difficult, this path to walk. You don't have to go up mountain passes too much. The ascent is like 2,000 meters in total, but that means going up, going down, going up, going and down again. So it's really not too complicated. And what you definitely have on the way is these beautiful views. And I would also recommend to maybe try a nice Swiss wine along the route. Definitely a must do, I would say, during this hike. Yeah, I see Oliver agrees on that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you're on a wine trail, I mean, then it's a must to try the wines. And I mean, we had in previous sessions, we talked about Swiss wines and how hard it is to get it in Singapore. So once you're there, it's, I mean, especially in this area, they're very proud of their wine, and it's justifiable. I mean, the wine is definitely fantastic. So it's a real pleasure. So it's maybe recommendable to slow down a little bit, have a rest in one of the vineyards, meet one of the wine growers, have a little chat with them, and try some of his or her liquid gold they have there.
Exactly.
Yeah, just one question, asking on behalf of those shy people here that are unable to ask the question. So roughly how many vineyards are we probably passing by in this road?
Uncountable ones, because
Wow.
the size of the vineyards can vary a lot, and I don't have it in mind anymore. But one of the smallest vineyard, I mean the smallest vineyard in Switzerland is, I think it consists only of 2 or 3 wines, so it's only about 1.5, 2, 3 square meters big. And some of them they cover a whole area, so I never counted it.
Sure, just enjoy the wine along the way.
Yes,
You'll definitely come across some.
definitely.
Yeah, it's basically also called the Vineyard Path because I would say actually almost during all the route you are inside of these vineyards. You are surrounded by these vineyards, so it's as Oliver says, it's uncountable. It's so many. It's just all the area basically. So it's really a unique experience.
So Ellen has a very good suggestion for us. We can fill our flask with wine instead of water.
Well, it has like almost a biblical meaning now, huh? Turn water into wine.
Thanks for the suggestion, Ellen. I'm sure
I
we
like your way of
will
thinking.
want to try it and see whether we get back on time.
Yeah, good idea. All right, so if there are no more questions about this one, then we move on to the hike, which is accessible actually and doable for everybody. I personally done this hike with families, with children in the age of 4, 5, 6 years old, and they can already easily complete this route. Now, this one is located in the Zurich area, so in the north of Switzerland. And actually, Oliver today has a beautiful background picture, which shows the view.
Now you see, that's the view you have from there.
Exactly. The lake you see, the lake of Zurich, one of the biggest lakes in Switzerland. And this is the view from the mountain area in Zurich. Actually, we're talking about a route which is I could say a peak-to-peak route. It goes from Uetliberg, that is the house mountain of the area of Zurich, almost 900 meters above sea level. And it ends more or less at Felsenegg. It's a little bit lower, like around 800 meters, but it's a panoramic walk. So you basically have view during all the hike. In total, the hike takes you like between 1.5 until 2 hours, and it's really not difficult at all. Now, what is nice about this one, you can do two different things. You can decide to start walking in Zurich city center and walk up the mountain, which is then, Zurich is located 400, 450 meters above sea level. So you would have an ascent of approximately 400 meters if you would like to do that. Then complete the walk and complete the hike and walk down the mountain again. That's a possibility, but this specific one, because it's so accessible for children and families, has also a different option, which is taking the train from Zurich main train station until Uetliberg. There is actually almost on top of the mountain, there is a small train station where you can get off the train. And then you only do the panoramic hike with the view, which takes you 1.5 hours until 2 hours maximum. You would reach the end of the hike, which is in Felsenegg, over here, as you can see, total distance of 6 kilometers, more or less. And then from here, you can take a cable car down back to one of the villages, Adliswil. And then from there, you can take back a train to Zurich. So if you would like to do something like that, and if you are like a leisure hiker and you would like to take profit a little bit of the public transportation system in Switzerland as well, then I would recommend take the train up to the mountain, 20 minutes from Zurich main train station. You are there, do this panoramic hike, and then maybe at the end of the hike have some nice fondue, because there is actually a very nice fondue restaurant at the end of the route, or something else. Of course, you can eat something, and then take the cable car down and travel back to Zurich by public transportation. As you can see, it's really not far away from the city. The train ride back will take you only approximately 15 minutes. So it's a very nice walk, even for just the morning or in the afternoon, maybe even before you would fly back to Singapore, for example. It's definitely something easy to do. And what is really nice, you have the view over the lake of Zurich, over the Swiss Alps, so this panoramic view during all the hike. So that makes it definitely interesting. You go a little bit by forest area as well, but most of the times you have this magnificent view over the lake of Zurich. And mostly now in autumn, as you can see behind Oliver again, you can see this beautiful view. There it's still a little bit green, but now because we are in autumn time, everything that you can see there in the green, the forest area, it's completely covered with different colors. It's just marvelous. So that's really something easy, accessible, and definitely a recommendation for starters. If you're not very much used to hiking and you just want to have a little bit this experience during your time in Switzerland, then this one is definitely accessible for everybody. I don't know, maybe Oliver would like to add some more information regarding the Planet Trail, for example.
The Planet Trail, yeah, this is a childhood memory of mine, because it's not a surprise that I have this background picture, because I grew up in this area, and this was one of the first hikes I did in my life as a young boy. And because there is the so-called Planet Trail, it was also something educational. So they have on a scale of I don't know, but they have all the different planets along the route, and so you can learn something about our solar system. And close to the beginning of the trail, where the train arrives at Mount Uetliberg, there you have the sun, And then following the hike, you have all the different planets in an exact relation of the real planet system. So there's not only the nature, there's also some educational part. And I loved it as a child, just to, I couldn't wait for the next planet to learn something and to see. There's also a little model of the planets, then you see with how they look like and all the chemical and geological and all that kind of information. So this was actually quite fun. And something else that I like about this hike, I think it's a good example to see how close the Swiss cities are to nature. Zurich is the biggest city of Switzerland with around 400,000 inhabitants, which is really, really big for Switzerland. But within 20 minutes by train, and it's not a fast train, it's a regional slow train up the mountain, you are in the middle of the nature, you're in the middle of the forests, you see the lakes, you hear the birds, it's so close. And then you walk those 90 minutes, you take the cable car, the only one in the canton of Zurich, down to Adliswil, and from there you take a train. And Adliswil is a town with 16 to 18,000 inhabitants nowadays, but still it's surrounded by nature, with river, with forests, with little hills. Then you take the train, in 16 minutes you're back in the city center of Zurich. This is really something unique that you can experience in Switzerland. And it's just an example. All the cities are the same. I mean, you can pick any kind of city. Within 15, 20 minutes, you are somewhere in the nature where you can do some easy hikes. So even if you are short on time, or as you mentioned before, Catharina, before flying back, you're anyway most likely in Zurich. Then you just do a half-day excursion combined with a brunch, a lunch, or just some snacks along the way and some drinks along the way. Get some fresh air before sitting in the airplane again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a nice thing to complete your holidays, definitely, to have a last view of the Swiss Alps and the Lake of Zurich. Okay, so are there any more questions regarding the hikes, how it works in Switzerland? Or maybe during the session, some more questions will get into the chat box.
So far, so good.
So far, so good. Okay, then I would say we move on to the next part, which is cycling in Switzerland. And I would say cycling in Switzerland is as exciting as hiking in Switzerland. It's also a beautiful thing to do. You can do cycling in Switzerland all year long, actually. And here again, what you can expect, of course, this fresh air, beautiful views along the way, so many different possibilities, different itineraries, and again, very clear directions and indications. Now, for cyclists, as you can see, we have put here a picture into the slide. These are all cities and villages in Switzerland, and you can see the distances very well marked here. So how many kilometers missing to go. If it's rather going a little bit uphill, then you have this image of the bicycle. If it's more a straight route accessible for all kinds of bicycles, then you have the straight bicycles. So like that, we show you a little bit, do I have to expect to go uphill, or is it more like a straight regular bicycle which I can use? Now, cycling in Switzerland, you can do it in several ways. Of course, we have the regular bicycles for the cities and for the straight trails. Then mountain biking is also possible. A lot of people do this in the mountains, of course. Even off-road is possible. And then something exciting we are going to talk about a little bit later on during the presentation is e-biking. Because as you well know, Switzerland has a lot of mountains and a lot of hills, and there are not too many flat routes. Of course, they exist, but most of the times you go uphill a little bit and downhill a little bit, smoothly, gentle, friendly. But if you are not such an experienced biker and you still would like to see a lot on the way and complete a little bit a longer route, then e-biking might be the possibility. We will give you a little bit more information about this in a couple of minutes. First of all, we have chosen two routes. And to give you an introduction, we will show you a short video about cycling in Switzerland in general. So we'll start it. So, as we could see in the video, there is a possibility of going mountain biking, of course, in Switzerland, but also road cycling exists a lot, and that's actually what we're talking about a little bit more today. Quite easy, accessible for everybody. And I understood, like, as a difference between Switzerland and Singapore. In Switzerland, there exists a lot of cycling routes. So really designed and designated for the cyclists. And then on the other hand, when you are more closer from the cities, many times you cycle on the road where the cars drive as well. Now that might sound maybe a little bit scary, that you think, whoa, I have to take that into consideration. Is that safe at all? Well, yes, it is. Because in Switzerland, although you cycle at the same place as where the cars are driving, there is a separate section most of the times for the bicycles. And this separate section is marked with a yellow line, and the cyclists stay inside of the yellow line, and the cars are not allowed to cross there. So they really stay, if you're cycling, on your left-hand side. And they have to take, if they overtake you, they have always to keep a distance of 1.5 meters. So it's really very safe. Me myself, I use my bicycle every day, even if it's snowing. I go shopping even with my bicycle, and I really feel well when I'm riding my bicycle, because everybody is very respectful. I would say the drivers with their cars. You don't have to feel like you're being pushed or so, because in Switzerland we are used to having all these cyclists on the roads and on this and specifically designated paths for them. Now we have chosen 2 routes to show you today, and the first one is the Rhone route. That is, the Rhone is a river here in Switzerland, and this route is, again, you can complete it in 8 stages. It's a quite long route, approximately 350 kilometers. It starts in the mountains in the village near Andermatt, that is here in the center of Switzerland. And it goes all the way down, as you can see by the red points, south of Switzerland. Here you would be crossing a little bit more the Mediterranean area. You would cross by the beautiful vineyards again, the Lavaux area, by the Lake of Geneva, and finish in the city of Geneva. So on this route you have a combination of everything. You have the Rhone glacier, the glacier of this river, more in the mountain area. Then you would go down the mountain, you pass by Mediterranean area, a little bit of coast, and finish up in a very international city. So you have a real variety of perspectives, a real variety of everything Switzerland has to offer along your route. Now 350 kilometers approximately, so you wouldn't do this in one day. There are actually 8 different stages. You can complete all of them, but you can also again choose maybe 1 or 2 stages for your first holiday, and then for example complete the rest of the route by train. let's say you would only do the first 2 stages and you would be here in the center of Switzerland. Maybe then you feel tired or you want to move on and do something else. Then you can even take your bicycle in the train and travel until Geneva, for example, or one of the other cities. That is allowed in Switzerland to do something like that. So once again, beautiful views along the way and quite, I would say accessible for most of the people. A little bit of fitness level is required, of course, because you're going uphill and downhill as well. But again, then we have the possibility of going with an e-bike as well. Mostly if you would drive a little bit uphill, that would definitely help you. Located in the south of the country and finishing then in Geneva city center, if you would complete the full route. And again, here you can see maybe on the map these numbers. These are again these different routes. If you just would follow the numbers, then you would not get lost. It's really very easy to follow the signboards. It's very well indicated in Switzerland. I don't know if maybe Oliver would like to add some more information about this specific one.
I just want to emphasize the safety on the road for cyclists. So I've been cycling in Switzerland, I've been cycling in Singapore, so I can differentiate, or I can compare very well. And cycling in Singapore is you really have to get used to it because of the traffic. Here you have sometimes several lanes going into the same direction. You have cars on the left and cars on the right, and even though here you also should cycle on the left, very left, but there are always a lot of cars. And in Switzerland, it often happens, especially on the country roads. You saw it maybe on the first picture where you have the cyclists on the mountain pass with the snow. Maybe you can quickly go back this one slide, Catharina. There is one lane in one direction and one oncoming lane, so it's easy to observe the traffic. And as Catharina mentioned before, the car drivers, they respect the cyclists, because most of those people in the car, they were cycling before. I mean, a lot of Swiss people, they do cycle, maybe not all of them in a very sporty way, but they know how it is when there is a car and they overtake and they would just pass very close to you. No one likes that, so they really respect that. Sometimes they even overtake on the other lane, even though there would be traffic coming towards them, but they wait until the road is clear and then they overtake. So it's really a respectful way, and you don't have to be worried. So if you manage to cycle in Singapore, then cycling in Singapore, in Switzerland is way easier. So here you don't have to worry about it. It's less traffic and very respectful. There was even a question from Chris, so I think I just answered this question before even reading the question. And I mean, there's also, in regards of personal safety, of course, you have to wear your helmet. And this is maybe also a difference that we have from Singapore and Switzerland. In Singapore, you often see cyclists on the walkways and not in the street. And in Switzerland, it's the other way around. You are not allowed to cycle on walkways. You will get a fine. So you cycle on the street or on the dedicated cycling lane that is also part of the street.
Yeah. Okay. So I think for me, when I go to Singapore, it will be quite challenging to ride my bicycle in Singapore, as I'm used to the safety and the easy way of riding the bicycles here in Switzerland. It's really, as Oliver says, everybody does it. And even if you drive your car, I mean, I do the same. When I overtake cyclists, I know how annoying it could be if you are too close, so I don't do that. And most of the people think in the same way because they have both experiences. So it's a real nice thing to do. And I think when you cycle, you pass by relatively slowly, but you still can see a lot. Yeah. So you have beautiful views, more than when you would travel by car, for example, because you have more time to observe the beautiful nature around you. Okay, so this is, although it's possible to do a route like this in mountains as well with an e-bike, this I would say it's more a little bit hardcore. It's also quite a long route, as you can see. Then we have chosen another one, which we call the hard route. And this one basically covers all of Switzerland. You can see here it's number 99. It's the signboard is number 99. So if you would follow number 99, then you would complete the full route, which is actually long, 700 kilometers in total. And as you can see, it crosses completely all the country. It would start here in the southwest, again, close from the Lake of Geneva. It's located here. And then the objective of this route is not to go as fast as possible to the northeast, of course. The objective of this route is to have the most beautiful views along the way. And this one is designed really a little bit more away from the traffic. So you will be cycling by beautiful countryside. You will see these beautiful wooden houses with the flowers along the way. Beautiful countrysides as well, views over mountains. You will be mostly in the valleys and you will see these magnificent mountains very close from you until you reach the northeast of Switzerland over here. So as I said, in total 700 kilometers. You might want to do this during 1 or 2 weeks of holidays. You can do that if you are more or less an experienced cyclist, but you can also again cut this route into stages. Actually, there are 13 different stages for this one, and you can decide if you want to complete the full route or if you more feel like wanting to do just a part of it and continue your itinerary in a different way. Maybe combine this with a train ride or a panoramic train ride or something like that. That's very well possible for this one. So this, I would say, this hard route is really more like being in the countryside, a little bit more away from the traffic, which makes it very pleasant, and as well very, very accessible for e-bikes. Here we have an image from 2 cyclists doing a route like this on their e-bikes. Maybe Oliver would like to explain something about this, because I believe you have been e-biking in Switzerland yourself a little bit.
I did that, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I like this picture because it really symbolizes a bit the area of this hard route for the e-bikes. You see some little hills, not too steep, but also not very flat. You have some beautiful countryside. You have our Swiss sakura with the apple blossoms, not the cherry blossoms. So it's really a very relaxing way of cycling. Also, when you see those 2 guys sitting on the bicycle, they don't look exhausted at all. They really enjoy it. And the trick of these e-bikes, it's not that you don't have to pedal. It's not that you don't have to do anything at all, but it supports you. There is a little engine and you can change the support level of this engine on your handlebar. There is like a little gear you can shift, and it helps you to enhance your own efforts a little bit. And the advantage of those e-bikes is you can cover longer distances without getting too exhausted. And another advantage, you can cycle with someone who might be a bit fitter than you or way less fitter than you. Because let's say if you are not that fit, but your friend is a super cyclist, he uses maybe a normal bike, and you use the e-bike, so you can reach like a same kind of speed, or you use the same kind of energy. Yours may be more with the support of the engine, and the other colleague only with his own physical strength. But it makes it possible that everyone reaches about the same level of cycling. And yeah, you sweat less, you're not too exhausted, so you can cover longer distances. And if it goes once up a little bit, you're not worried, or you're not getting like out of breath, because then the engine in the bicycle helps you to master to conquer the hill.
Exactly. It's a nice way of riding the bicycle in Switzerland, and we have this option. So why not using it? Then of course, if you cover such a long route, if you would say, yeah, I want to go for this 700 kilometers or even 350, what would you do if you get tired? Now, Switzerland has a very good railway system. We have spoken already about that a couple of weeks ago when we were speaking about the trains. And the good thing about all this is that there is a very good network of trains and of buses, public transportation in general in Switzerland. So wherever you are never too far away from a train station, never too far away from a more maybe relaxing way of traveling. And in Switzerland, it is allowed to take your bicycle on the trains. They have different compartments or special compartments for the train. So it does not have to be a foldable one. You can just take your bicycle on the train. So if you get tired, you can just cycle to the next train station, put your train into the compartment, put your bicycle into the compartment for the bicycles, and then just sit down, relax, maybe have something to eat, drink something, admire the beautiful views, and travel to the next train station or to the next city, or as long as you want until you feel fit again. So that's a very good combination. You also don't have to plan this in advance. You can just actually decide this on the spot, say, okay, I've been cycling now for 2 hours. I feel I'm a little bit tired, but I still want to reach the next city. So let me do a part of the trail by train. And then when I'm fit again, I will get off the train and keep on cycling. I think that's a huge advantage in Switzerland, mostly if you are not too much used to be cycling, then this is really a very good combination, and you can adapt it again completely to your own personal itinerary, and you can like that enjoy your holidays really the speed and with the efforts you like. How you like it, and you don't have to think in the morning, oh, today I must drive 50 kilometers, there is no other option. No, there is always a B plan, always a B option. So if you get tired, jump on the train, enjoy the views, and travel to the next town.
I think a big bonus here is what you mentioned. First of all, you can take any kind of bike compared to here where you need to have a foldable bike to bring it into a bus or a train. So big advantage number one. And the second one is we can eat and drink in the train. So you can really energize yourself again. So use this comfortable way of getting back in shape and get your energy back. The only thing that you have to consider is that maybe to mention that you also need a ticket for your bicycle. So your bicycle doesn't travel for free. There is basically, it's based on a half fare price of an adult, but there is a cap. I think, oh, my eyesight is getting bad. I think there is a day bike pass there for 14 Swiss francs, which is 20 Sing dollar. But with this 20 Sing dollar ticket, your bicycle could travel through the whole country. Mm-hmm. And if it's just a short distance, then you just have to get a half price ticket, which is a couple of dollars, and then your bicycle travels with you. So, and this is, it might be a bit surprising that you have to buy a ticket for a bicycle, but please do so. Don't forget about that, because in some or most of the trains, you don't have to validate your ticket. They're also not coming and check the ticket. They trust you that you have a valid ticket. Sometimes they do some random checks. And then if you don't have a ticket, then it's the same like here, the fines are quite high. Yeah. But in general, they trust you. So just keep this in mind.
And then also why risking it, because a day pass for 14 Swiss francs or comparable to 20 Sing dollars is really not too much.
It's a fair price, yeah.
Yeah.
And also what you mentioned before, that it's never far to the next train station. And this is also a bit a public service in Switzerland, that every town and every village is connected to the public transport system. So not necessarily by train, but if there is no train, there is a bus. And if there is no bus, there would be a cable car. There are a couple of villages, they are reachable by a cable car, which is part of the public transportation system. So you always have an option for a shortcut and for a plan B, always.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. Okay, so that's if you would get tired, then of course, if you decide to travel through Switzerland by bicycle, there is another advantage here, some additional services. For example, there exist Swiss bike hotels in Switzerland. And what they do, they have a specific section for bicycle cleaning and repairing. So imagine you are cycling and you notice something is wrong with your bicycle, and you're staying in one of these Swiss bike hotels, or you stop by a bike shop or a sports shop, for example. You can basically also in every city and in many villages as well, you can find shops, bicycle shops, where they can repair parts of the bicycle in case something would happen. Now, these Swiss bike hotels have also an additional service. They have an overnight laundry service. So that means if you are cycling and you reach there and maybe you were sweating during the day and you would like to have fresh clothes again the next morning when you check out and you continue your itinerary, then they have this overnight laundry service. You give it in the evening when you arrive, or late afternoon. It's being washed for you, and then the next day you can use your clothes again. You put them on and you are fit again to go. Apart of that, many of these Swiss bike hotels, apart from breakfast, they offer lunch packages as well. So if you would like to take some food for yourself on the way, you can get it there. Of course, you would have to ask them for that and pay an additional fee for it, but it is a possibility. If you don't feel like stopping on the way and eat in a restaurant, you can have these lunch packages with you, for you can have something with you and maybe sit somewhere in the grass with a beautiful view over the valleys or up the mountains, and you can eat your lunch relaxed and at the time it suits you. And apart from that, these Swiss bike hotels also have very good information about the cycling routes. They are located most of the times along popular cycling routes. So the staff there is also familiar with the different itineraries, the different directions. So they can assist very well and give some good information about the different cycling paths in the area of the hotel. And then apart from that, there is another service in Switzerland, which is luggage transfer. Like imagine as these two people here on the photo, they look so relaxed cycling their e-bike. Of course, also because they do not have to transport any luggage with them. If you do a cycling route like this, it's possible to have your luggage transferred from one place where you stay, one hotel, until the next one, and you don't have to carry it on your bicycle. So that makes it a much more pleasant experience. You don't have to worry about your suitcase or something like that. It's being transferred to your next destination, and you just go traveling light, maybe with a backpack, a lunch package, a little bit of water, or an empty bottle to fill up with the wine, as Ellen suggested, and then you just keep on going. So that's a huge advantage as well, I would say. A nice additional service. Don't know if
another additional service that I just remember this one, because we were talking about the routes and giving directions and finding the right way, and since we're all getting more and more tech savvy, we always have our mobile phones. So for all those routes, for all those national, regional and local routes with those 1-digit, 2-digit, 3-digit numbers, whether it's cycling or hiking, there are maps, there are GPS data, and there are the profiles, so that you see that how steep is it, how flat is it, so that you can really plan your perfect ride or hike, so that you're from the beginning you are aware, okay, now this is maybe too tiring, or this is more suitable to my fitness level. So this can be done and seen in advance, and you can download all those data to your phones as well. So I think this is also a great additional service all over Switzerland.
Yeah, exactly. So I think this was
How about washrooms along the way? Answer from Chris. Yes, you know, when you are in those more regional and local routes, there is always a restaurant or a place where you can go and use the washrooms. Of course, there are some restaurants, they might not like it if you just walk in, but if you ask nicely and they see, oh, you're a cyclist, then they will allow you to use the washrooms, or maybe you combine it with having a drink in this restaurant, and then it's no problem at all. And when it comes to the worst, there is always a forest or something like that you can use.
Exactly. So I think I will share as the last slide in case are there any more questions? Of course, in the chat box, we are still here. But here you can find the websites, also the email address from Topliners Club. In case any more questions are left, then we will be very happy, of course, to assist and answer them. And yeah, I think I would like to give back the word to Ming.
Okay, thank you, Catharina, for the insightful presentation today. Any final questions from the audience today? Yeah, I'm also interested to know how many of you actually are more interested in cycling and how many of you are more interested in hiking in Switzerland. Maybe you can let me know in the chat box below. We have one question from Ellen. Am I right? The day bike pass is only applicable when I intend to transport the bike by train.
Yes, that's the ticket for your bicycle. So yourself, you need to have a valid ticket as well. And then on top of that, you get your bike ticket.
Okay, so Chris, it's more about hiking, not too much cycling. So my personal recommendation for any of you, whether it's hiking or cycling in Switzerland, is to really, if you're there for leisure, please take it slow. No, don't rush. Don't aim to do too many kilometers in one day, because you're not there for competitions or marathon. You want to plan in such a way that you have free time in between to stop, to enjoy the scenery, take a few photos, or even have a nice glass of coffee or hot chocolate, and then basically just enjoy what nature is before you. So don't rush into it. Make sure that you pace yourself correctly, because things that you have to consider as well are things like the altitude. You don't want to be stressing yourself out in a very high altitude. Yeah, so these are some considerations that you need to have when you're planning a trip to hike or to cycle in Switzerland. Okay, so just before we end, for those of you who missed the initial video, I will actually like to share with you again how an e-biking tour will look like after the session. So for those who wants to watch, please do stay behind if you are interested. And then one last tip for you before you go. Today you can still get good quality hiking shoes at a good price, okay? Because it's the 11/11 sale. Okay, I'm not selling any hiking shoes, so please don't ask me. Yeah, get them ready, and then we can go next year together. Okay, so if there are no final questions, I would like to thank our two guest speakers tonight, Catharina and Oliver, and all our audiences here for taking time out today. Okay, so we hope you had some good takeaway tonight, and we wish you a great week ahead. So good night, everyone. Thank you, and see you 2 weeks later for our last session. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody. Thank you so much.